My name is Beth Gibson Porter. This is actually the non-audience speech for informative that I'm giving. I was on my honeymoon, so I'm a little behind getting it to you, but I'm getting it in. So I'm going to start off with this right here. Hi, my name is Beth Gibson Porter, and today we're going to be following the heartbeat of cardiovascular disease. Who does cardiovascular disease affect? Well, to better understand who it affects, let's look at a few facts. Cardiovascular disease is a very personalized disease. It has a very broad range. In fact, according to the authors of the Genetics of Human Cardiovascular Disease Journal, there are 80 million individuals in the United States that are affected by cardiovascular disease. It is actually the leading health problem in the United States of America. One reason that it is a leading health problem is it encompasses so many aspects of other diseases into one. It includes diseases of the vasculature nature, myocardium, the heart's electrical circuit, and congenital heart diseases for newborns. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Journal tell us that 610,000 people a year die of heart disease in the United States, and that's just in the U.S. This is not around the world. That's 1 in every 4 deaths. Coronary heart disease is the most common type of heart disease, and over 370,000 people die each year from this. Heart attacks are otherwise known as myocardial infarctions. 735,000 Americans a year have a heart attack, and about 500 and something thousand of that is the first heart attack. A little over 200 and something thousand actually are repeat heart attacks. People don't just have one, they have multiple, one after another normally. The Congenital Heart Public Health Consortium fact sheet found in the American Academy of Pediatrics Journal states that 1 out of 100 babies born have congenital heart disease. That's nearly 40,000 babies a year with congenital heart disease born in the United States. And this is the most common cause of infant death due to birth defects. So let's ask again, who does cardiovascular disease affect? Everyone. From infants to teenagers, to adults in the prime of their lives, to elderly. Anyone with a heartbeat can be affected by cardiovascular disease. I have 4 specific cases in my own family of cardiovascular disease, and I'd like to share those with you. I'd like to give a face and a name to different aspects of cardiovascular disease because it's not just in my family, but it's in my neighbors, in the people I work with, anyone around us. It affects so many people. First case is my husband, Keith. Picture this, is a 37-year-old man on a hot summer day in the South, mowing the yard. He decides it's a little warm, he's ready to go inside, cool off, have a glass of tea. He gets his glass of tea, he walks to the living room and sits on the couch, and before he's done drinking his glass of tea, he's in the middle of a heart attack. He woke up a few days later in the hospital and was told that he had had a massive heart attack, known by most health care professionals as a widowmaker. This type of heart attack involves the artery that flows over the front of the heart becoming completely blocked off. It's a very high percentage of deaths with this particular heart attack. That's why they call it a widowmaker. Now, there were no noticeable warning signs for my husband. He felt fine when he was mowing the yard, he felt fine when he was fixing his glass of tea, and he had no difference in feeling until he was having the chest pains, having the heart attack itself. The second case is my mom, Shirley, aka Health Nut. Now she's 72 years old, but the majority of those years she has lived a life eating organic health foods, taking vitamin supplements, herbal supplements, and exercising on a daily basis. So she wakes up in the middle of the night with chest pains. She's healthy. She doesn't think it's a heart attack, but she thinks that she should maybe call a friend to come pick her up and take her to the hospital to have it checked out. When she gets there, she has a whole list of reasons why she's having these chest pains or having these symptoms, but not one of them is a heart attack. But that's exactly what my mom was having. She was in the middle of a mild heart attack. Case number 3 is Brenda, my mom-in-law. Now, she did not actually have a heart attack. She's a lady who's very much active and loves to do yard work, pulling the weeds out of her garden, planting flowers, mowing the yard. So she had injured her shoulder one day. She finally decided to go to the doctor and have it checked out, and during some pre-surgery routine testing, they found an irregularity in her heart. They checked it out, and she found out that she had 2 major arteries over 80% blocked. The doctors told her that one day she probably would have come home and sat down and had a massive heart attack and passed away, and that would have been it. She had no warning signs of that, not until she had the testing. She actually ended up having a double bypass, and they took a couple of vessels out of her leg, replaced them in her heart, and now she's back home, living a very active lifestyle again, back to her normal self. Case number 4 is my cousin Mabry. Now, she's not so much my little cousin anymore, but when she was born with a hole in her heart. Mabry went through multiple surgeries and quite a bit of medication for the doctors to finally get to a point where they felt like the heart would eventually finish healing on its own. She's had regular checkups through the years, and the only problem she's really had is her immune system. She's a little immune suppressant. It's more easily for her to get colds and flus, and harder for her body to fight that off due to having that hole in her heart. Now she's 18 years old. She's graduating from Chester County High School this May, and we're very proud of her. So she's a very active and vibrant 18-year-old with her life in front of her, about to go off to college this next fall. Now let's recap just a little bit. My husband and my mother both felt like they were in a healthy stage of their life. My husband was 37 years old. My mom was 71, but she lived a very healthy lifestyle. So they had no warning of this unexpected heart attack they both had. My mother-in-law did not have a history of high blood pressure or high cholesterol or any kind of cardiovascular diseases, yet she found out she was living with 2 major arteries blocked off, and at some point that could have resulted in a massive heart attack, ending her life. My little cousin's heart was never fully closed up during the womb, so she was born with a hole in her heart. So what led up to their heart attacks and other cardiovascular diseases? Was it truly lifestyle, as researchers have believed in the past? Or is it possible that genetics played a larger part in this? 2 articles that I reference here are Genetics of Human Cardiovascular Disease. This article states that until recently, the genes underlying the heritable components of myocardial infarctions and other manifestations of cardiovascular disease were largely unknown up to this point. They've been studying it for about 50 years, but these specific genetic properties have been unknown until now. So now they have new biological research that's discovered a range of conditions extending from myocardial infarctions to congenital heart disease that shows that they are all heritable genes. This confirms the inherited DNA sequence variants play a role in conferring risk for cardiovascular disease. This research has been able to identify specific genes and DNA sequence variants responsible for trait variations in humans. Now, why is trait variation research important? Okay, naturally occurring genetic variations has the unique potential to reveal causal biological mechanisms in humans. Now, in English, that simply means just as you see someone who is very thin and seems to eat whatever they want and not gain a pound, and then you look at someone else who seems to eat very little but gains 4 pounds just looking at something that's sweet or fattening. That is because each individual has different DNA components and segments in their body that responds to their stimulus and their environment differently. And those DNA differences control one person's metabolism in a different way than this person's metabolism is controlled. So this specific research will allow early identification and preventative treatment of many aspects of cardiovascular disease. The second article, genetic causes of myocardial infarctions, which is heart attacks. Again, they state that these genes underlying the heritable components of heart attacks were unknown in the past. It speaks of the new development of molecular genetic methods leading to the discovery of numerous genetic variants that are associated with elevated risk of myocardial infarctions. There are actually 11 chromosomal segments that have been identified and replicated to show beyond doubt to contribute to the risk of myocardial infarctions. Specific chromosome 9p21.3 has been identified as the strongest genetic effect on the risk of MI, and the majority of the population carries this specific chromosomal segment. This research has now made it possible to predict more accurately on a genetic basis whether an individual will develop one of the classic cardiovascular risk factors over a lifetime. So many people have cardiovascular disease these days, which leads to the heart attacks that we just spoke about, cardiovascular manipulation, which is stents or bypass surgery, and hardening of the arteries. Just like my family members, these individuals possess little or no symptoms to warn them beforehand. My hope and prayer is that with more extensive genome-wide studies and research, we can continue to forward the effort to discover early detection and preventative methods for myocardial infarctions and other manifestations of cardiovascular disease. It's exciting to me that all these genetic findings are making it possible for us to be able to reach out and prevent heart attacks, hardening of the arteries, congenital heart disease, just by recognizing some of the different DNA structuring that we all have.